So I'm happy to say that today, the 6th of June 2017, marks the anniversary of the creation of 24-hour Imaginarium. 24-hour Imaginarium. 24-hour Imaginarium. So myself and a great friend of mine, Dale, also known as at the Wildcard, we collaborated together and created 24-hour Imaginarium. We collaborated together and created 24-hour Imaginarium on this day last year, and the idea behind it was to get like minds or non-like minds together, and on an individual basis, which by default would make it a collaborative effort on a grand scale, to focus our thoughts and intentions on the things that we want to create for humanity, for a new, more positive world, whatever that means to you as the individual. So more positive world, whatever that means to you as the individual. So a new, more positive world, whatever that means to you as the individual. So a few people have asked me what the 24-hour Imaginarium is, the exact formula or what they do to go about being involved. And really, 24-hour Imaginarium is a very personal thing to the individual, in the sense that whatever your intentions or desires or wants, needs, you feel would make for a better living existence on this planet, that's the idea, is to focus your thoughts on those things. And what I would say is, whatever you do that brings you the most joy, whatever you do that brings you the most happiness, brings you the most happiness, brings you the most happiness. And it can be something so simple. It could be,
hey Joe, take a walk on the wild side.
That you decide to take a day off work and you just go and watch a show, or just spend the day being indulgent. So it could be that you're going to have a nice bath with candles lit around it. Think about the things you want to create, perhaps collectively for humanity, the better world you want, or perhaps just on an individual basis. Listen to a nice piece of music, or you might have a favourite piece of music that you want to listen to that puts you in alignment with those things that you want to bring in, because whatever we feel, whatever we're feeling in our hearts, and when people come together collectively in what this would be, I would call it a meditative experience on a collective level, on a grand scale. That is what creates reality. That is what creates the reality that we decode as external to ourselves. So whatever you do on an individual basis, as people have thoughts of love and joy and happiness, if that happens on a collective scale, this is what we're going to bring in as a collective reality. This is what we can shift into. So I just wanted to clarify what 24-hour Imaginarium actually is. It's not necessarily that you have to go to a specific place on Minds, or we did have the Do As One breathing room, which I believe, I'll double check, but I believe we've still got that this time around. So you can go into the breathing room and you can do meditation and kind of connect with people who are doing meditation as well. But I will say that's not necessary. You don't have to do that. If you're in a place where you think, well, I can't get to technology, so I can't get into this breathing room, it doesn't matter. You can be anywhere in the world. It's about your thoughts and intentions, and what you do on the day, for 24-hour Imaginarium, is what you do that creates the vibration that you send out. Sometimes it's difficult for us to comprehend how something like this works, but the only way that I can describe it is, we all accept the law of gravity. We accept that the gravitational pull holds us to the earth.
Hey, Joe, take a walk on the wild side.
And we also accept in science that a magnet will draw something to it. We can actually watch this process happening when a magnet draws something to it, and that thing sticks to it solid. The vibrational energy that is being projected in order to pull that magnet. We don't see that energy, yet we accept it exists. And in the same way, our thoughts are vibratory in nature. The words we speak are vibratory in nature.
Take a walk on the wild side.
And they create our reality. They create our existence. So,
hey, Joe, take a walk on the wild side. Hey, Joe, take a walk on the wild side.
The best way to do that is the emotion that we are feeling when we have these thoughts and intentions. So say, for example, we intend to bring more love into our life. We feel that we don't have enough love, or we don't have enough friendships socially, so we want to bring more of that into our lives, and this is just an example. Then obviously we would focus our thoughts and intentions on bringing that into our reality, and at the same time as having this thought process, we do something that generates a very positive, loving feeling within us. So as I say, music on a vibrational level is very powerful. Laughter is very powerful. You might have a comedian or somebody that really makes you laugh. It might be Bill Hicks, it might be Billy Connolly, it could be anybody, Russell Brand. So you watch one of those comedians, they make you laugh, and at the same time you can be having these thoughts about bringing in more friendships and more loving connections into your reality. You do it at the same time, because the key to bringing this into your reality faster is the emotion you feel when you have the thought process. The thought process is what we would call meditation. That is the meditation. You're focusing on those thoughts, but at the same time, synchronistically, at the same time, you are doing something that gives you that joy. So it could be having a bath, it could be walking through a forest of beautiful trees and go and see a show, or do something that you wouldn't normally do. And even if you have to work on this day, it doesn't matter. You can still, even if you had an hour's break from work, you could use that time to just have a period of focusing your intention on something wonderful. And it doesn't have to be selfless. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to focus on world peace. You do what brings you the most joy, because if you're feeling in a state of joy and happiness and love, if everybody feels in a state of joy and happiness and love at the same time, then we will bring joy and love into the reality on a collective level. So anyway, I want to wish everybody a really good, positive and wonderful 24-hour Imaginarium, and we can all talk about it when we come out. Really super.
Oh, thank you. Wow,
Thank
there you are.
I went to see Russell Brand a couple of nights ago. He was amazing.
You saw Russell Brand?
Oh.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed with him in a
Not
weird way.
not in not to talk to, but he was playing at this place in Bristol, which is the city closest to where I live. It's about it would be about a 20-minute drive for me to get there. But they had such strict security where I went to see him. That there
He's
was
very
no way
well
I could
protected.
film.
Yeah.
I know, I couldn't have filmed. I was going to get my old camera out and film the whole thing. And I thought I'll suss it out when I get in there. And then I thought there was absolutely no way. The minute I got a phone out, there would have been so much CCTV. They would have seen me and they would have removed me immediately. A couple of people did try and they got escorted out of the place. He went into sort of hiding for a bit. I don't know if he got some kind of a warning or they said, right, you need to shut your mouth.
Exactly.
Something happened.
Yes, he was telling a lot of truth. If you see his last movie, you guys will... Yeah, he's interesting. He's really interesting.
He was good. He was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, Satori, I got to see yesterday and give him a gift and hang out and say hello for a second.
Oh, excellent!
That was really cool because I've been trying to make it happen for so long, and it's like we're in the same vicinity, but
It's so cool that you live so close by. It's brilliant.
In between, I was telling him if you guys should have came to the beach house because that was so nice when we had a 3-story place. That was
wow, that sounds amazing.
And it was on Shell Beach, which is out of the movie Dark City, which is why I was saying that somehow I found out Shell Beach is real, but it seemed kind of like a real illusion, just like in the movie where it's real, but it's a real illusion too. It's really cool.
Hold your breath. Make a wish. Count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.
First there was darkness. Then came strangers. They were a race as old as time itself. They had mastered the ultimate technology, the ability to alter physical reality by will alone. They called this ability tuning. But they were dying. Their civilization was in decline. And so they abandoned their world, seeking a cure for their own mortality. Their endless journey brought them to a small blue world in the farthest corner of the galaxy. Our world. Here they thought they had finally found what they had been searching for.
Count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.
My name is Dr. Daniel Paul Schraber. I am just a man. I help the strangers conduct their experiments. I have betrayed my own kind.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Imaginarium, relaying wisdom to your cranium, forging bombs stronger than titanium. This is me, seek gnosis, signing on for this creation. 24 hours of concentrated meditation, all types of artistic creation. Yo, it's the infinite Imaginarium, relaying wisdom to your cranium, forging bombs stronger than titanium. This is me, seek gnosis, signing on for this creation. 24 hours of concentrated meditation, all types of artistic creations, brought together in one spot, so you and I can raise the vibration and come together as one nation. Letting the walls of division crumble as we break free of stagnation. Now can you feel the elevation? A global integration of hearts and minds in this moment in time. Such we be collaborating on the beats as I drop you a rhyme.
My goodness, look at this room.
Man wants to mix stuff in or create from this hangout, then that's you can, I guess. That's my, to define it. That's kind of how I'm viewing it. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even sleep last night. I had the same situation with the environmental evasions, trying to I don't know, like be one with my environment, like a fly on the wall, without like actually being reactionary enough to where I like have to say something, but it's not acceptable. So you're just like, I have the truth.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And I don't want to put anyone in a position, because it's not my place really to say. So I'm trying to be discreet, but Satorina has been on the
I think like the point we've
edge.
reached collectively, you know, as a human species, if we can't, you know, in 2017, in the age of information, allow ourselves to be who we are.
He comes by it naturally. Mrs. Irwin was very
I don't know when it's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So I would say,
Oh yeah.
full scale, full speed ahead, truth to Tourette's.
Oh, totally.
Let it all
I
out.
had a great comment prepared when I was woken up in 3 a.m. and kept up till noon. And I just was really nice about it, and I didn't say it because I knew it would be like mildly.
High up over my head, the great hairy bare mountain sent down thunderclaps that put the fear of God in me. All I could see were smoky trees and dismal wilderness rising to the skies. What the hell am I doing up here? I cursed. I cried for Chicago. Even now, they're all having a big time. They're doing this. I'm not there. When will I get there? And so on. Finally, a car stopped at the empty filling station. The man and 2 women in it wanted to study a map. I stepped right up and gestured in the rain. They consulted. I looked like a maniac, of course, with my hair wet, my shoes sopping. My shoes, the damn fool that I am, were Mexican huirachis, plant like sieves, not fit for the rainy night of America and the raw road night. But the people let me in and rode me north to Newburgh, which I accepted as a better alternative than being trapped in the bare mountain wilderness all night. Besides, said the man, there's no traffic passes through 6. If you want to go to Chicago, you'd do better going across the Holland Tunnel in New York and head for Pittsburgh. And I knew he was right. It was my dream that screwed up, the stupid Hearthside idea that it would be wonderful to follow one great red line across America instead of trying various roads and routes.
Jarring for this person to hear a girl really take something so what, you know, it's like one of those things where you're woken up in the middle of the night by cries of ecstasy, only you know it's trash, right? You're like, wow, where's this coming from? So you're trying to figure out in your mind, you're dreaming. So I call it infiltration of like thought infiltration, because you're like half asleep, right?
They're thought waves. Thought waves that
Thought waves.
Whatever you're
where's the
aligned,
energy
whatever you're
coming
aligned
from?
to.
Yeah.
So what brings you the most joy, what you resonate, even if you let yourself, conversely, let yourself lapse into negativity or whatever the thought process is, you will align yourself with other vibratory thoughts or thought waves of a similar nature.
Well, I agree.
Sometimes
It's really
you
interesting
can get this
because
kind of stuff going into your head, and you're thinking, in fact, sometimes you can be like, for example, walking through a supermarket or something.
Mm-hmm.
You're like suddenly getting these weird thoughts, and you're thinking, God, did I just think that? That's really awful that I've just had that thought process or whatever. But you're constantly walking through this sea of thought waves and vibration that obviously we can't necessarily touch or hear or anything. It's just, so occasionally these thoughts come into our heads, and they're not necessarily your thoughts. They could just be thoughts that because of your thought processes as a general theme for that week, for example, depending on what you've been doing, will influence what you connect with, what you align yourself with. So you could then, in a kind of telepathic way, pick up on other thought waves that are floating through the sea of mind. If that makes sense.
yes, and
so
that's exactly what it felt like.
You're like, hang on a minute, that's totally against what I believe and what I feel. I would never have that thought.
Well,
and then you feel guilty about it.
I can tell you what you're saying is it's spot on, because when you hear moans while you're sleeping, you're half awake, they're like cries of ecstasy, but they're not really. And then you overhear parts of conversations, and you try not to laugh. You're somewhere in between dream sleep, and you're like, this is not my reality, but it feels like it's infiltrating your reality, and you're trying to be like vigilant, I feel like, and aware, so that it doesn't become like consuming, because it's confusing to me and really reminds me of being younger as a child, hearing those similar things and knowing that there's just all this stuff around me going on. So it could be one or the other. And it's interesting how they sound similar. Someone could be crying out of passion or ecstasy. You never really know. And then you fall back asleep or something, and then you hear it again and you're like, whoa, what was that? But so that in itself, I think, is something that I prefer to avoid. And in fact, I just was like, I'm just going to get up and play music and just be awake right now. Like, it was my way of dealing with it. And unfortunately for D, he was like not able to drown out the annoyance and be non-reactionary. But instead of saying what I was going to say, which after overhearing someone say they weren't properly, because I thought it was funny. And the thing is that's the dark city, like the really the humor I find around me in just what other people I think would perceive as really a dark reality. I actually have to laugh at and be like, I can transmute that into something funny.
Yeah, that's the luminous dark.
There you go. Yes, exactly.
Where the darkness, this shimmers just right. And you're like, okay, I see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm the same in that respect. I tend to laugh at things that most people would perceive as very dark. And it's not that I'm evil or negative in any way, shape or form, but I can kind of see it in a different light. That makes the luminous dark again. I can see it in a different way. It actually reminds me of something. Talking of supermarkets, I remember standing in a supermarket with quite a enlightened friend that I have called Miles. We were standing in this queue and we were totally connected, but we were doing stuff, so we were still a bit off our heads. So obviously we were in a different state of awareness to everybody else. And I started to really focus on the conveyor belt and the food moving along it. And for some reason, I found this hilarious. I find it the most hilarious thing. And I didn't have to say anything. We were standing next to each other, so we weren't actually looking at each other. So he couldn't see me laughing, or he couldn't see my facial expression. And then he started to laugh. And when we left the supermarket, we were talking about how hilarious and hysterical the whole third dimensional scenario of like standing in this queue and watching your food slowly move along this conveyor belt. Just how weird it was, and that the fact that people weren't even aware of how weird that was. That was the thing that we were finding funny, is that nobody was aware of how kind of ridiculous that was, if that makes sense. We found that really funny. I mean, that's not really
I would find that funny.
a dark example, but
things like that do trigger a sense of what I would call or describe as detachment and a form of disassociation and even dissonance. That becomes like a environmental thing where everyone around you can feel it. But when you see food moving on a conveyor belt, I think it's pretty removed from nature, don't you? It feels like it would trigger that response. I think I'm sensitive that way. In fact, I remember driving in New York City and not really having anxiety until this one night where it was raining and the glare of the lights on the windows triggered a strange kind of detachment, or I felt alienated by the electricity itself. It was like yelling at me, like I could feel the electricity. It was really hard to describe.
No, yeah, like I felt the same way too the first time I went to New York. Like New York's cool and everything, but like after a day of just seeing nothing but concrete, I was like, oh my god, getting kind of like claustrophobic and feeling weird. Get out of here.
I went to New York in 2004 with a couple of friends. We just stayed there we went there for a week. And I remember we were driving through, we weren't driving, we were in a taxi, but we were driving through, it's just like when you see it in the movies, it's kind of like, it all looks really glamorous and great, but like when you're driving through it, it's just like a sea of buildings that are really tall, sort of narrow roads and everything. But when we were walking around and having these experiences, my two friends were getting a bit kind of starstruck by things, like when we went to see the Empire State Building and
I was going to say the buildings.
I felt like New York, to me, felt like a massive... It didn't feel real at all. And I told my friends, and they said, that's because you're influenced by the fact you've watched all these films over the years, and it's always associated with Hollywood and movies. I said, no, it's not. It's more than that. There's an energy. There's this weird vibration in New York. It doesn't feel real to me.
That's what I felt.
Walking around Disney World. That's what it felt like. And I've been to Disney. I went there when I was 15 with my family, and it was like that. There was some kind of unnatural feeling about it. I can't explain it.
It's interesting.
That's where like Dark City comes in the movie. It feels like that.
Oh my god,
like
it's
a dream,
like
a different dimension world.
Totally.
You ever had those dreams where you like, hey, am I awake or am I dreaming? But it feels real, but everything's slightly off. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it was weird.
I would say the majority of my dreams are like that, where I'm not sure if I'm awake or asleep, and I think that might be some of the PTSD a little bit. But it's interesting because there are times where I feel like it's a tool, because you get used to it, so you just say, okay, I'm not going to ever rely on being, when I'm awake, even fully awake, or, So it's like, I think it tricks me into being aware in some ways of other times where most people are sleepwalking, if that makes sense. But what's interesting is that feeling you described about New York City.
Don't feed into it. I love them niggas.